So this article here from the Daily Mail. Daily Mail is in the United Kingdom. However, they're talking about Google, which is the parent company of YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. Accused of discrimination. Google is sued by a black worker who accuses the company of favoring white men for leadership roles and forcing security to stop black employees at its Silicon Valley headquarters. April Curley, 34, was hired by Google in 2014 to design an outreach program to historically black colleges. She was fired in September 2020 and says that she was pushed out of the company by senior executives. Curley claims she was overlooked for promotion, told her Baltimore accent was a disability, and described her as an angry black woman. Wow, those two really got to me, you know. Her Baltimore accent, a disability, and described her as an angry black woman. On Friday, her lawyer, civil rights attorney Ben Crump, filed a lawsuit accusing Google of systemic racial bias and seeking a class action case. Crump has represented the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and more. He accused Google of undervaluing, underpaying, and mistreating their black employees. Okay, so this is repeating here what happened. So on Friday, she said managers at the search engine company actively thwarted their career ambitions, steering them to lower-level jobs, paying them less, and denying them opportunities to advance because of their race. While Google claims that they were looking to increase diversity, they were actually undervaluing, underpaying, and mistreating their black employees, said Ben Crump, Curley's lawyer, a high-profile civil rights advocate who has represented the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, among others. Curley has been active in denouncing Google on social media, accusing her managers of mocking her accent, saying it should be registered as a disability. Wow, I need to see if I can hear how she speaks. And deliberately directing her away from promotions despite her qualifications. April Curley, 34, on Friday. Alright. Okay, let's see. Maybe we can see this here.
Top 3 reasons that black women leave Google at higher rates than any other demographic at the company. Coming in at number 3, black women are significantly undervalued in the skill set and expertise that they bring to the company. In my case, I once had a white male engineer with no experience in education question my understanding of the word curriculum. I am someone with 2 degrees in education, including a master's from Johns Hopkins. And that brings us to the second reason, which is that black women are solely seen as DEI experts and expected to advance diversity initiatives across the organization, internally and externally, often expected to be done as unpaid labor, which leads us to the number 1 reason that black women leave Google. And that is the fact that black women are denied promotion at higher rates than any other demographic at the company. Black women are sold a dream that if they do all the things, then they'll be promoted. And that's not what the data shows. They hate us.
Okay, so I'm listening here to see if I can hear this Baltimore accent and this disability. Her English sounds clear to me. I think Google has a problem, really. Can you imagine can you imagine if the case goes to trial and you're sitting in the jury and you listen to her speak? You know, you're waiting to hear that Baltimore accent. Yeah. And when you do listen to her speak, and she speaks, and you ask yourself, wow, does this sound like a disability? Because we know what disability sounds like when some people speak. So in January, she posted a video to TikTok. Top 3 reasons that black women leave Google at higher rates than any other demographic in the country. And coming in at number 3, black women are significantly undervalued, and their skill set and expertise that they bring to the company. In my case, I once had a white male engineer with no experience in education question my understanding of the word curriculum. I am someone with 2 degrees in education, including a master's degree from Johns Hopkins. And that brings us to the second question, which is that black women are solely seen as DEI experts and are expected to advance diversity initiatives across the organization internally and externally, often expected to be done as an unpaid labor. And then it goes to, which leads us to the number 1 reason that black women leave Google, and that is the fact that black women are denied promotion at higher rates than at any other demographic. So, I was taking, a coding course, software engineering course, late last year, this year, and we used to do these Zoom, breakout rooms. We have Zoom, and there's a Hispanic student, and she says she has a friend who's a software engineer. She used to work out there, out in California. Yeah, right where Google and all these other companies are. And she had to leave because she says her friend encountered a lot of discrimination working out there. And she left California and came back to New York. I believe she opened up some kind of a business of her own. But, listen to this lady, what she's saying there, that doesn't really come as a surprise. Because it's like, and then there were other articles too. I remember reading an article even before this some years ago, where a company was advertising for certain, like in that field, the tech field or what have you, and they described the race of the person they're looking for, which in the United States, that's a no-no. You don't do that. You go by qualifications and so forth. So it's interesting because a lot of times, you hear people talk about, people get this job because of affirmative action, because of that. And they never say that if somebody like a white person who clearly may not even be qualified or have the degree. Like she said, the person was questioning her terminology of the word curriculum. Doesn't even have a degree in education. And she does. She has like 2 degrees, she mentioned. But yet this person is an authority to speak like that. So unfortunately, we still live in a country where sometimes people, they hold certain positions and they don't necessarily need to have a degree or they don't need to have the education. But it's just that they're given the opportunity. you know. And if you read some of the obituaries, some of the people who died, you see that some of these people, they have like a broad range of jobs, skills they did, and how is that possible? The only way that's possible is when people gave them opportunities. Because for the average person who goes out and do a job, if you go looking for a job, they want to know, well, okay, what did you do before? And then it's like, basically, that's the kind of job you're going to be doing the rest of your life, because how many other people are going to take a chance and give you the opportunity to do something that's way different from what you were doing? Like I remember years ago, I was going through the classified back then, they were on the newspaper, and they were looking for somebody who knows how to operate a printing press, and they were looking for somebody with like 10 years experience. And I kind of shook my head and said, if you have 10 years experience operating a printing press, why the hell would you be looking for a job? With that many years experience. And this was like a long, long time ago. Long, long ago. This was before we even had all these like laptops and so forth. So this was like ages ago. And I remember that kind of stood out. Like, they were looking for somebody who knows how to operate a printing press. 10 years experience. So if you got 10 years experience doing that, why would you even be looking for a job? And the whole point is that, so if you have that experience, that means that's the only thing you can do for the rest of your life. But like I was saying, there's some people who, when you look at their obituaries, some of them, like in the New York Times, some of these people they work across different fields. And the only reason is because they were given opportunities. They were given the opportunities to branch out and do things because people had faith in them or what have you. Take, for example, Jared Kushner, the guy who was the son-in-law of Trump, right? Look at the position he held in the White House. Now, people who knew him, who went to school with him at Harvard, say he was a mediocre student. Yeah. Just a regular student. And the only reason he got into Harvard was because of legacy. Like his father gave money or something like that. And he got it. But nobody ever said, oh, he got it because of affirmative action. No, he got it due to legacy. And yet there he was working in the White House in a very top position, that for most people to get a job like that, you have to work in the State Department, and you have to be trained, how you going to negotiate, like negotiating peace plans or what have you, and so forth like that. He had absolutely zero experience, but he was given the opportunity to work in the White House to negotiate peace plans or what have you in the Middle East. And people who went to school and who were in his class said this guy was a mediocre student at Harvard. There was nothing about him that was bright or stood out or anything like that. So I can understand this woman, she has like 2 different degrees and she's being passed over. She's being passed over for opportunities, and they're not looking at her. And then to add insult to injury, they can say, well, you have a Baltimore accent. I was kind of looking for like a ghetto accent or something like that. She doesn't sound that way. And then to say, well, okay, your accent should be labeled a disability. Now that's really insulting. Yeah. That's really insulting. She said, me thinking my career at Google would give me a strong skill set and financial security, but instead it gave me. So this is how they're pontificating. It harmed her mental health, bipolar 2 and panic attacks. According to the complaint filed at the U.S. District Court in the Northern District of California, which Curley and Crump want to have class action status, Google maintains a racially biased corporate culture that favors white men. They say black people comprise only 4.4% of employees and about 3% of leadership and its technology workforce. The U.S. population is 13.4% black, according to the latest census data. Curley, in her suit, said her hiring proved to be a marketing ploy as supervisors began denigrating her work, stereotyping her as an angry black woman, and passing her over for promotions. Curley's lawsuit seeks to recoup compensatory and punitive damages and lost compensation for current and former black employees at Google and to restore them to their appropriate positions and seniority. Curley also said Google, whose parent company is Alphabet, subjected black people to a hostile work environment, including by often requiring they show identification or be questioned by security at its Mountain View, California campus. She said she was fired after telling her bosses she was compiling a file on Google's discriminatory practices. So she let them in and had a little secret there, Crump said. Crump and Curley will hold a press conference on Monday with more black former Google employees citing a pattern and practice of racial discrimination, the lawyer said. Google is yet to respond to DailyMail.com's request for comment. 3 months after her firing, Curley took to Twitter to explain in a lengthy thread her efforts to recruit candidates, the alleged resistance from Google, and the reason why she believes she was fired. You see, so there she is here, and this is, I guess this is the way, look at her hair. Her hair fits in with the type of, the type of format that some of these corporate companies call for, This is how they want the hair instead of a natural hair. And I think I saw a congresswoman the other day, she wants to pass a law that says, people should be able to wear their hair naturally as to express who they are. Instead of, like, the company having a policy and saying, well, your hair got to be straight or got to be this. And she definitely was fitting in here when you look at her hair in comparison with the other fellows from above. So there she is right here. Right there, real April or Abril, real. The reason Google never hired an HBCU student straight out of undergrad into one of their key engineering roles is because they didn't believe talent existed at these institutions until I show up, she wrote. Curley tweeted how after she began working at Google, she fast became aware of all the racist ST put in place to keep black and brown students out of their pipeline. Arguing, she routinely called out shady recruitment practices such as screening out resumes of students with unfamiliar school, university names. In many instances, Google engineers who were interviewing HBCU candidates would leave demeaning and absolutely insulting feedback about students, which would ultimately result in a rejection at the hiring committee stage, she alleges. Okay, let's go through this. There's another picture of her there. It looks entirely different. In several cases, students were questioned in interviews about the quality of the computer science curriculum that they were receiving at their HBCU and criticized for not meeting the bar compared to elite white institutions. Curley suggests that her adamant advocacy of black and brown students to be fairly and justly considered for roles at Google resulted in active abuse and retaliation from several managers who harassed me and many other black women. My skip-level manager, a white woman, told me verbatim that the way I speak, oftentimes with a heavy Baltimore accent, was a disability that I should disclose when meeting with folks internally, she wrote. This white woman also told me that she never felt comfortable supporting my work because she was intimidated by me and therefore never considered me for leadership opportunities. In addition, Curley went on to allege that another manager had his ego bruised from jump when I refused to discuss my sexuality with him, explaining he once asked her which of her colleagues she would sleep with. Well, that's entirely inappropriate and probably illegal. You're not supposed to have a discussion like that or ask, unless somebody's your friend, your personal friend, you befriend in a job to talk like that. But that's definitely inappropriate. Despite stellar performance metrics, which can be supported by multiple data points, I was repeatedly denied promotions, had my compensation cut, placed on performance improvement plans, denied leadership opportunities, yelled at, intentionally excluded from meetings, etc., she said. Ultimately, my last manager, his manager, and HR decided the best way to shut me up was fire me. Curley was fired by Google in September, but left with the knowledge she single-handedly increased Google's black engineering hiring from HBCUs by over 300%. Curley claims her actions resulted in the hiring of more than 300 black and brown students from HBCUs who were hired into engineering roles. I could write for days about all the awfully racist recruitment and hiring practices I saw at Google. With receipts, she ended. I'll stop here for today and summarize my sentiment by saying F Google and F the way Google treats black women and black people. They do not want black talent. So as a result of Curley's tweets, the founder and CEO of HBCU 20 by 20, Nicole Tinson, who heads an organization that prepares and connects black college students and graduates for quality jobs and internships, announced it is to cancel its partnership with Google immediately. We refuse to partner with a company who continues to disrespect black people. Black people deserve better, and it's clear Google has not found the need to do better, Tinson wrote. We do not encourage working or interning at Google. A spokesperson for Google released a statement to dailymail.com on Tuesday afternoon. We have a large team of recruiters who work incredibly hard to increase the hiring of black and other underrepresented talent at Google, including a dedicated team that partners and strengthens our relationships with HBCUs. This work is critical. In 2019, we welcomed graduates from 19 HBCUs, and over the past decade, we have expanded our recruitment effort to more than 800 schools. At the same time, we are absolutely committed to maintaining an inclusive and supportive workplace. We don't agree with the way April describes her termination, but it's not appropriate for us to provide a commentary about her claims. The suit came after that state's civil rights regulator, the Department of Fair Employment in Harvard, began investigating Google's treatment of black female workers and possible discrimination in their workplace. In September, a black Google employee accused the company of racially profiling him. Angel Onaoha, an associate product manager who graduated from Harvard with a 3.8 average a year ago, was held for 30 minutes by security guards at the Google headquarters in Mountain View. He said, Google blamed the incident on a mistake with Onaoha's security badge and rejected any claims of bias, saying administrative issues prevented guards from being able to verify the pass. On September 20, Onaoha shared his experience in a tweet that has since become viral and earned more than 90,000 likes and nearly 14,000 retweets. Riding my bike around Google's campus, and somebody called security on me because they didn't believe I was an employee. Imagine that. I had to get escorted by 2 security guards to verify my ID badge. Wow, isn't that something? And there was a woman who was able to get on campus and shoots at some people and then kill herself, right? And she looks nothing like this guy. It's some years ago. After sparking questions from indignant users on Twitter, Onaoha returned to the platform to further explain what happened. They ended up taking my ID badge away from me later that day, and I was told to call security if I had a problem with it. And that was after holding me up for 30 minutes, causing me to miss my bus ride home. Google told Forbes that the company had reached out to Onaoha and were actively investigating the circumstances around the incident. More broadly, one step we have taken recently to decrease badging incidents is to make clear that employees should leave investigating these kinds of access concerns to our security team. Our goal is to ensure that every employee experiences Google as an inclusive workplace and that we create a stronger sense of belonging for all employees, Forbes reported. And then it goes on here. I noticed these articles from Daily Mail UK tend to be long. They write a lot. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. And these are some comments here. So this person here says, I have worked in Silicon Valley for 30 years and have never heard of minority employees being harassed at the doors of their workplaces. Obviously, this person is a troll, because we know that's not true at all. I mean, really, you know. I'm sure you ask the average black person, they're going to have their own story to tell. But it's amazing that people can come on and they can post things that are truly false.